I know I've mentioned to a few people that I'm pretty confident that most Americans have lived their entire life not thinking about tariffs a single time, not thinking about how they affect the price of anything, not thinking about the policy. And suddenly it is the topic at kitchen tables around the country. I think because President Trump has a tariff policy, and that's probably the only reason. So I thought this would be a great conversation for us to really kind of start at ground zero on like how we got here. Like, we have a trade deficit. We've had a trade deficit for, generations. How did we get here? Why?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and you're entirely right. So America's run a trade deficit every single year since 1974. 1974. And we're not talking about small deficits either. I mean, this thing is large. If you do the math and you look at the trade deficit over time, what's the cumulative value of the trade deficit? And then, of course, you adjust for inflation. We're looking at about uh, $28 trillion that's left the country, buying the future that we should have been building. It's a tremendous amount of money. That's like an entire year's worth of GDP. On top of that, there's other ways that money flows out of the country, of course. Foreign direct investment is another way that happens. So when an American company offshores a factory, of course, they got to pay for the factory in China, right? They're putting that money into the country. They're typically upgrading the infrastructure. They might be building a port or upgrading the roads. It's a lot of money as well. We're talking a couple of trillion, at least $2 trillion. It's hard to figure out the exact value of that because so much money sort of flows through the British Virgin Islands and these sort of other other ways into China, right? So it's very difficult to find out exactly what the value of that is, but it's at least $2 trillion. And then on top of that, I mean, you have intellectual property. When an American factory, and people don't understand this, but when an American factory moves to China, they have to do a joint venture with a Chinese company. So on the ground, there's actually a Chinese um, partner company that does actually all of the on the ground work. So we have to send them the machinery, we train their people up on the machinery, we give them the technology so that they can replicate it. And then, of course, what happens? We've given them all the technology, right? And that's a necessary step to doing business in China. And the value of that, well, it's unquantifiable, but just in terms of sort of counterfeiting and economic espionage, we're talking about $9.9 trillion since 2001. So all of this is the long way of saying that there's been a tremendous amount of money that's left the country over the last 40 years, especially over the last 20 years. And this has had really, really bad impacts for the American worker, American small businesses, and of course, the American people at large.